Hello and welcome back, my friends. Let me ask you a question. Do you believe in miracles? Yes? No? Maybe so? I hope you do. I surely do. And today, I'm going to show you how to grow your very own miracle tree. You're not going to want to miss this. These little trees right here that I started from seed are none other than the moringa tree, also known as the miracle tree or miracle plant. There are so many different uses and health benefits associated with this plant. It's known as nature's very own multivitamin. It's high in protein, 25% protein in the leaves, and it can be easily grown even in poor soil conditions. The only thing required is heat, lots of sun, and well-draining soil. Typically, you're going to find this plant thriving as a perennial tree in hot climates, places like Arizona, Texas, Florida. You can grow these trees year-round. In other areas of the United States, it can be grown as an annual. That's what I'm going for here, although I have actually had this plant perennialize and come back after a cold winter. If you get down below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, that's freezing, the plant's going to die back. And if the roots get to that freezing temperature, it's not going to reemerge the following spring. So I've had success growing this, like I said, as a perennial where the actual plant died back and it came back from the rootstock the following year. But I've also lost the entire plants and roots over the course of the winter, so I don't have any that are perennialized here on site. But at this point, I'm still excited to grow this plant as an annual. That's what I'm going for. I've chosen a spot over here in the corner of the chicken run. You see we got a lot of chop and drop material on the food forest floor. Banana leaves, different perennial greens. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clear this area. I'm going to prep the soil. I'm going to plug these plants in. I'm going to protect them. I'm going to show you all the different ways that I do that. Now, for those of you that live in colder climates, you can still grow this plant in a pot and actually bring it into a greenhouse over winter and have success that way. But my goal is to have several patches of moringa, hopefully grow 4 to 5 feet this growing season as an annual. And then what I'm planning on doing is maybe building a structure, some sort of hoop house over those plants in the fall, try to protect them and allow them to overwinter. Now there's many different ways to utilize the highly nutritious leaves of the moringa plant. What we usually do is throw them into our soups and stews, but you can toss them into a salad, you can make sandwiches, put them into a smoothie. And if you're not able to grow this in your own garden, I'd encourage you to get to your local Asian market where you can pick up the branches of this plant with the leaves intact. Usually through the spring and summer months, it's relatively cheap and it's definitely worth giving it a try. Another option if you're interested in including this into your diet for all of its health benefits is to pick up some of the leaf powder. There's lots of different brands out there and it's overall a good value. All you need is about ½ teaspoon. Throw it into your smoothie or your soup base and you're good to go. I find that the trees are also quite beautiful, adding an ornamental value to any landscape. They have a feathery, whimsical-like appearance. They actually go into bloom, and the blossoms are quite fragrant as well. And later in the growing season, the plant will produce less leaves and begin to produce what's called a drumstick. It's the seed pods, and as they mature, they're actually harvested and used in culinary as well. My wife Alice makes a wonderful Filipino dish called pakbet, utilizing the seed pod or the drumstick, which, just like the leaves, can be purchased at the Asian market. When prepared in cuisine, these drumsticks remind me of a mature okra. The outside layer is very fibrous, and what you do is you scrape out the inside with your teeth, just like with a more mature okra. If you've never tried that, give it a try. So now I'm going to get to planting. Like I said, I'm going to scooch back some of this chop and drop mulch material on the surface, expose the soil. I'm going to work the soil a bit, maybe add in a little bit of amendment. We'll see what we're dealing with. A little bit of fertilizer. We're going to get these plants plugged into the ground, protected, water everything in, and watch them grow. Even with all that chop and drop, the soil back here is extremely dry. And these little buggers, known as wood lice or roly-polies, can be quite the issue if you're plugging in smaller little transplants or growing from seed. With that being said, these are little garden buddies and workers in their own right. They're part of the soil food web, and what they're doing is helping to break down a lot of this organic material. So for the most part, they're helpful. It's just when you got those smaller little transplants and seedlings going that they can become a problem. But stay tuned in this video. I'm going to show you how to protect your newly planted little transplants and seeds so that these little guys don't get into it. See, I still run into stuff like this in my garden all the time. It's just a little piece of urbanite. Not sure how it ended up in there, but pull that out when we come across it. So this will be the time to add in your amendments. If you've got manures, if you've got some amending soil that you want to put in here, this could definitely use some of that. Now before I continue, I just want to remind you, simplification in the garden is always the most rewarding. All you really need to do when plugging in moringa is to loosen up the soil a little bit if it's compacted, get it prepared, plug in your plants, water it in, you're good to go. Like I said, moringa will grow in poor quality soils. It really just needs some good drainage. Heavy clay, not good. With that being said, I'm going to take a few steps here to add some fertility to the soil, help to loosen it up a little bit more, and retain moisture. These are all added things that I'm doing that aren't required, but over the years I found that these type of things benefit my growing experience and give me more success. So I'm going to start off by adding in some amending soil. And this particular product by Amend I've had good results with. It's organic, it's OMRI listed. And what's in here? We've got compost rice hulls, compost recycled forest products, arbor fines, which is wood chips, dairy manure, poultry manure, gypsum, dehydrated poultry manure, hydrolyzed feather meal. So what this is going to do is add quite a bit of nutrition to the soil here. It's also going to help to break down some of those clumps that have clay and such in them, and it's going to just create a nice little humus patch of soil in this area for our plants to really grow out and thrive in. I'm also going to add in some organic starter fertilizer. This helps with the root zone. It's a 2,4,2 NPK, and inside it has beneficial soil microbes and mycorrhizae. And this calls for 1.5 cup for 10 square feet, so we'll put about a cup in this area. Now I'm going to add in some of the soil moist. These granulars here, we're going to sprinkle that in. That's just going to help this area to retain moisture. These little granules, they absorb up to 200 times their weight in water, and they slow release that out into the soil. It actually helps to balance the distribution of water so you don't get too waterlogged and you don't ever get too dry. You just need to check up on it. Should reduce your watering by 50%, non-toxic, environmentally friendly, safe for food crops. Now I'm going to add in some of this mycorrhizal inoculant, which I've spoken about many times on the channel. And this is a fungus, and this fungus has a symbiotic relationship with the roots of the moringa plant and most other plants, and it's going to create little extensions off the roots of the plant that help the plant to reach out much further, gathering nutrients and water. It also helps to break down different components of organic material, turning it into a more humus-like soil. It's a key to my gardening success. Now just going to work this in, try to work it in evenly. Now moringa has a very deep taproot with other feeder roots coming off of it. And because of that, the plant's able to reach much deeper down into the soil and mine up minerals and nutrients other plants can't reach, which is why it's such a valuable crop and often referred to as a miracle plant, especially for those folks that are living in third world countries that struggle to find quality food or have businesses that they can start up. This plant has offered opportunities to people to get healthy and to earn an income. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now I'm just going to rake this level and get those bigger chunks to the edges of this little bed here. So this technique of soil preparation can be used for growing any crops, not just moringa. So hopefully, whether you're growing moringa or not, I've been able to offer you some value in this video. So if you have found this video helpful or entertaining in any way, do us a favor and smash that thumb button. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. New uploads every week, sometimes every day, and I'm always giving you updates on everything growing on around here. And if you tap that notification bell, that's going to keep you in the loop so you never miss a future episode. And do us a quick favor also and send us a comment. We love hearing from you. It helps the channel to grow. Thank you, everybody. Now, I started these seeds in one of these Jiffy seed pods here. This is the 50 millimeter. It's larger. And I transferred it into a cup with soil once I saw the roots start to poke out. Now, as I mentioned, the moringa has a deep tap root. So I don't like to keep them potted up for too long if they're growing in the ground. Otherwise, you risk breaking that root off when it comes time to transplant. So let's see what we have here. All right, so this is good. I don't see a root poking through here yet, so I won't have to disturb the plant. And that is a nice gentle transition from the pot to the ground. I'm going to plant these about 1 foot apart. I find that to be a nice spacing if you're growing these as an annual. Now, if I lived in a hotter climate where this plant's going to perennialize and grow up to be a tree, I'd space it out several feet apart, 5-10 feet apart. But because I'm growing these as an annual, I'm doing a dense cluster of these trees. It's kind of grow like a shrub. And if I'm able to get these to perennialize in the future, then what I can do is simply remove some of these. You can take cuttings from this plant and grow it that way as well. They grow from seed, transplant, or cutting. Now I'm also going to be plugging in some of the seeds, and this is what they look like. And these seeds don't have any type of dormancy period, so you can just plug it right into the ground when you're ready to start growing. Just make sure you keep it moist. And I'm going to plug a few seeds in here just as an added backup to make sure I can get a patch growing. Now, when planting the moringa, you want to put about 3 seeds in each hole. And you want to bury them about 1 inch, 1.5 inches deep. By the way, when I was starting these plants from seed, I only got about a 50% germination rate. So it may vary. There's quite a few different suppliers, but just keep that in mind. Now everything's planted in. We're going to give it a good watering. Now remember those little wood lice, those roly-poly bugs that we saw in abundance in this area? Well, I'm going to share with you a tip right now that you can utilize when doing fresh plantings to protect your crops. It's something that I've used for quite a long time and it really works. It's called 𝓕𝓮𝓪 Plus. You want to make sure to get the plus if you use this. This is organic, OMRI listed, and it protects against many different critters, including slugs and snails. This is primarily iron phosphate with a little bit of spinosad. So the top here has a little shaker opening, so you can just sprinkle this stuff around the area that you want protected. And then to activate it, you also want to moisten it. So add a little bit more water. Now, wild birds and chickens really love this stuff, and it's not going to hurt them, but I don't want them taking away the product and the effectiveness of what I'm trying to accomplish here. So it's really important that I protect this area now so that even little wild birds can't hop through here and eat up all that 𝓕𝓮𝓪 Plus. So a couple of these plant protection cages, and you can make these out of any rigid material and then wrap it with some chicken wire. Is going to keep even the smallest little birds out. Mainly we just want to cover the areas where those plants are. And those little birds can fly in from the top too, so you're going to want to protect it over the top with some chicken wire or some other material. I'm going to be placing some shade cloth over these plants for now as well. Always a good idea when first transplanting to offer them a little bit of a healing period where they're not getting too much light. This is also going to help the soil from drying out too quickly. We're good to go. And you may notice that I'm doing this on a mostly overcast day. If it wasn't overcast and it was hot and sunny, I'd be waiting till the later part of the evening to get these plants plugged in. Otherwise, they're really going to go into shock. Well, that's going to do it for today, my friends. I sure do appreciate you tuning in. So with that, have yourself a great rest of the weekend. Until next time, this is Dan from PlantAbundance.com. Take care. I'll be talking to you again soon.